Suddenly, Commander Potts seemed to listen carefully, and again he stopped the car, switched off the engine, and now they could all hear what he had heard, a frightening, eerie moaning that rose and fell and sent shivers down the spine. "What's that?" they all asked, trying to keep their voices calm. Commander Pott leant forward and undipped the spotlight beside the windscreen. It was one of the useful spotlights you can use at night as inspection lights and to read up high ups and road signs, and he shone the light carefully up and along the roof of the cave until the beam came to a sort of contraption strung with shiny copper wires that was fixed into the chalk. Commander Pott laughed. "That's an old trick," he said cheerfully. "Someone really does want to scare people away from the cave. That's a musical instrument called an Ethiopian harp. It's much the same as an ordinary harp, only the strings or wires are much thinner, so that even the small breeze blowing along them can make the strings sound this sort of moaning noise. It can really get spooky when the breeze varies and blows hard and soft in turns. I've seen them used before, this in ruined castles in Germany, to give the tourists a fright. Well, it hasn't given these tourists a fright, has it?" And the others all said, no, rather not. It's a bit doubtfully. And Commander Pott started up the engine, and on they went again, hoping that it was the end of the nasty surprises and wondering all the more who it was trying to guard the secret of the cave, and what, for matter of that, the secret could be. Round the next two bends they crawled carefully along, with the thunder of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's exhaust echoing on ahead of them, and then, all of a sudden, on a perfectly straight stretch of cave, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang stopped dead. "Well, that's funny," said Commander Pott, examining the dials in front of them. "We're a bit low on petrol, but there's still 5 gallons. Oil pressure all right, engine temperature a bit high, but not more than it should be going up this sloping tunnel in 3rd gear." And he got out to open the bonnet and have a look at the engine. He walked around to the front of the car and suddenly stopped. "So that's it," he said softly. "She saw the trap." "What trap?" they all called, leaning out to see. Commander Pott pointed a very thin tripwire, stretching knee-high from wall to wall across the cave. He scratched his head and walked up and down the wire, looking at the ground in front in case there was a trap door to catch people in, and looking at the walls and roof to see if there was some big rock or a concealed weapon waiting to drop on their heads as soon as they touched the wire. They saw him kneel down and examine where the wire joined the wall, and he finally stood up and said, "Aha! The devils, I've got it!" And he walked back to the car and he got out a pair of pliers and some rubber gloves, and always carried for dealing with faults in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's electrical system. "What is it?" they asked rather anxiously, because by now the whole adventure was getting almost too exciting. Commander Pott said cheerfully, "Oh, nothing much. They're only trying to electrocute trespassers and explorers who get this far in a cave. Probably not actually kill them, just give them a powerful shock to frighten them away. But wouldn't it have been funny if our bumpers had touched a wire? Might easily have short-circuited the whole of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's electrical system, as well as giving us all a nasty shock." He looked puzzled. Funny the way Chitty Chitty Bang Bang saw the wire and stopped just in time. There really is something almost magical about this car. Well, of course, Jeremy and Jemima weren't in the least surprised. They knew Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a magical car. Just look at the way that she could fly like an aeroplane and skim across the sea like a speedboat. And anyway, hadn't they had their suspicions on the very first day when they had noticed that the registration number, Gen 2, could be read 2 ways? Do you see what they saw in the letters and numbers? Commander Pott put on his rubber gloves. Electricity can't go through rubber. He gave one short snip on the wire, and sure enough, as the pliers cut through, there was a bright blue flash and showers of sparks, and the 2 halves of the wire fell dead. And now Commander Pott got back into the driving seat and pressed the starter. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's engine at once roared into life again. On they went, climbing still up the wide tunnel of the cave, with the big headlights searching ahead for more dangers. And I must say that Jeremy and Jemima in the back seat were quite trembly with excitement, and where in heaven's name this underground adventure was going to end. Round the bends they went, on and on into the depths of the chalk cliffs, and the odometer showed that they had now come a whole mile inland from the sea, and the air was cold and damp, and the breeze, which got stronger and stronger, blew the cobwebs to and fro, high up in the roof, and made Jeremy and Jemima huddle up together to keep warm. And then, round a particularly sharp bend, they were suddenly faced with a blank wall of chalk that completely closed the cave. They had come to the end, or at any rate, they seemed to have come to the end of a very long cave. But Commander Pot got out of his car, walked carefully forward, looking at the ground and the walls, and then examined inch by inch the chalk wall that blocked the cave. He seemed to find something that excited him very much, and he came back to the car and announced, "It's not a wall, it's some kind of door, a sort of secret trap door. We must find the catch that opens it. Come on, everyone, we must search every inch of the ground and the walls for it. It'll be something very clever, I expect, and well hidden to tell me that if you find even the tiniest clue." So inch by inch, the family, working in the bright glare from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's headlights, began examining what seemed to be a solid wall of chalk blocking the cave, just as if the original cave diggers had decided they couldn't be bothered to burrow any further. The only clue which Commander Pot found early on was that there was this tiniest crack that wandered, zigzagging down the middle of the wall. It might have been natural, just a fault in the chalk surface, but again, it might not, because through the crack a sharp draft was blowing from the other side. Jemima had chosen to grub about in this right-hand corner, where the wall met the side wall of the cave. There was lots of bits of flint embedded into the chalk. There had been the whole way along the walls and the roof of the cave, just like you find in the chalk of any chalk cliff, but some of them are fossils. It's often worth digging them out to see. Jemima found a jagged piece of flint, almost as big as a football. Some instinct made her tug at it and go on tugging until it suddenly came away in her hand so that she almost fell over backwards. She bent down and peered into the hole of the flint had left in the chalk, and at once she gave a squawk of excitement and called, "Daddy, come quickly!" And then Commander Pot knelt down beside her and saw what she had seen. An electric light switch. "By golly, you're a clever girl, Jemima. I do believe you've found the secret." He called to the other two, "Stand back, everyone. I'm going to press down this switch. Heaven only knows what'll happen. Ready?" And he pressed down on the switch.